Right, the next we're going to do is a cock pheasant. This is a lovely bird that was shot 3 or 4 days ago. I don't mind hanging them for a short period of time. It depends of course on the temperature that they're hung in as opposed to how long they're hung. But this one has been hung up for about 4 days. It's been quite warm, so I think that was sufficient time. What we're going to do though is not pluck this bird, we're going to skin it. And there's a good reason for that. The skin of the pheasant does have very little fat in it. And unlike pork or duck where there is fat in it, if you take the skin off it, then you can then add extra fat by putting oil over it, or indeed by putting rashers of bacon. It's a very simple job. Again, it's not a race, so we'll go through it in slow time. This £3 cockbird I'm sure will look nice inside. And of course by skinning it, it'll give you a good indication as well of what the flesh is like underneath. Because if it has been hard hit, then we can cut parts of it out. So, on to skinning the pheasant. Right, first of all, what we're going to do is to take the wings off. Now, what I tend to do is if you feel where the wing is, you can feel the bone, and that is where the socket goes into, dare I call it, the shoulder. But about halfway along you can feel the bone, but you need to be cutting it as close to the body as possible. So we'll take a sharp and heavy knife and just feel for where the shoulder bone is and crack down. The next part is to remove the tail feathers. Quite simple. You can hang on to these or give them to friends who go fly fishing, but they're rather nice to dress the bird. That's when it's cooked, but simply just pull out the feathers. Just pull them back towards you, and it's a very, very simple job. Of course, the hen bird has fewer feathers, and certainly not as long as these. So you can give them to your friends or indeed discard them if you so wish. The next part is to take off the legs. Now, running inside the leg of the pheasant are a number of tendons, and they're really quite strong. You can just cut them off if you so wish, or what we'll endeavour to do is to pull the tendons out, which will mean that when the bird has been completely skinned, this flesh will be lacking tendons and therefore be easier to eat. But it doesn't matter if you leave them in or you find difficulty with it, but we'll give it a go. Now, the way to do it is just make sure that the leg is moving. Take a smaller knife and around the joint, the hinge joint, just cut around it. Not all the way through, just part way through it. And then, hopefully, taking your pliers, grip firmly and pull the tendons towards you. And what we will be doing is holding the upper leg, because you don't want to rip this leg off the body here. So make sure you push that way with this hand and pull this way with a firm grip this way. And with luck it should come out. We shall see now. There we are, it's come out. Now there are the tendons that run up inside the leg. As you can see, they're very sinewy. If you leave them in, it doesn't really matter, but they are just a little bit tough to chew on. Turn the bird onto its back. Its legs are up. You can feel the neck, and you can feel down the neck to where the neck actually enters the body. And that little hole just there, that little cavity, is the crop area. Similar to other birds, they'll eat seeds and things like peas and greens. And that could be full. You could have a sack full of food. In this instance, there's very little, if nothing, in the bird. So what we're going to do is just feel to where that neck enters the body, and you can see the distance, probably about that much from the head of the neck down, and we're going to cut the head off just there. Again, just place the knife across it and cut down. And off comes the head quite easily. Now we're making a bit of a mess here with all these feathers. As you can see, by plucking a bird you would have an awful lot of feathers, in which case you probably want to do this outside. But by skinning it, of course, we retain the majority of the feathers on the bird. Now, this is how you skin. Very similar to a rabbit. What you're looking for is to peel it off just like an overcoat. Take the pheasant anywhere on the breast, pinch it and you'll feel the skin. And the bird is now, I can feel the skin between my two fingers. With your small knife, just make an incision and just cut out. Then put your finger inside and you can then start peeling the skin off the bird itself. And unlike a rabbit, the skin is very easy to come off. As you can see, it's just peeling off like an overcoat. I may get this off in one with a bit of luck, you never know. There we are, it's starting to come off the bird. There's the skin with the feathers attached. See if I can show that to the camera. You can see the skin itself there. We'll discard that. And it didn't come off in one piece, but there we are. We shall pull off the skin this way, out with the back legs. As you can see, it's a very, very simple job. Got a few feathers there around where the wings were, and on the bottom end of the legs, of which of course one has still got tendons in it, but there we are, we can't have everything. Right then, we're also left now with some feathers on the tail end. Quite simply, lay your bird down, again with your big knife, just cut it off. And the reason we cut it off like that, there's hardly any meat there anyway, plus it makes it a lot easier to be able to clean the bird from the inside. So, there we have the pheasant skinned. Now then, I mentioned at the beginning about fat. On a duck, or in fact on a pig, you'd have the whole body covered in fat. This bird, as you can see, has very little fat. This is the fat that's on it. So when we get to cook it, you'll have to add fat. And that would be by using bacon, or cooking it with some casserole, or whatever it may be, but it'll need some liquid, otherwise the meat will dry out. But there we have the pheasant nigh on cleaned up. Of course we'll have to wash it, but the next part, of course, is gutting it. And this is a really, really simple job. So, all we do, we take the pheasant, take your knife, and make an insertion in this area here. You can see the crown, this is the breast of the bird, this is the rear end of it obviously, and there's a soft area here, and all inside here will be all the innards of the bird. So what we're going to do is to make a small incision, just there, and we can now see that there are the innards of the bird. And what we'll do is just slowly pull it back, not too much of a hole, put your two fingers inside, stretch as far as you can, grasp and pull out. And there you will have the innards of the bird come out in one piece. Not a pretty sight, but nonetheless that's where it is. And in there you'll find the liver, which you can keep to one side if you so wish, and cook up. In this case the liver's been hit by the shot that's gone through it, so it's not worth much. So what we'll do is discard it. And there we have a pheasant that has been cleaned out very simply. Now you remember I took the tail off at the end. The reason being, I'm not going to use my magical piece of chopstick, but as you can see, the bird is now cleaned out very, very simply and ready, after washing, for cooking. One skinned cock pheasant.